Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Zeke here from A to Z Sports, and we are back with yet another episode. And this one is going to be on two very interesting topics that have come up in the NCAA world. One is doing with the name, image, and likeness bills with the NCAA and how they're changing the rules for that. And then the second segment of this video will be on the NCAA's new format for how the college football playoff is going to look in upcoming seasons. So before we get into those two very interesting topics, make sure to like this video and subscribe to A to Z Sports so you don't miss out on any A to Z content. And if you are already subscribed to A to Z Sports, make sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of that. So getting into our first topic, this is going to be the one on the NIL, which is the name, image, and likeness of NCAA athletes. And so prior to this new change of rules, which came out 3 days ago, players were not able to sell the rights to companies to use their name, image, or likeness in any type of like video game or advertisement or anything like that. But they just suspended all rules against that, and now giving individuals the right to sell the name, image, and likeness to companies to use. And so they're now allowed to accept money from that in the business deal in exchange for allowing the business to feature them in advertisements or advertising them like for selling products or anything. And rules depend on like what they're allowed to advertise for and stuff like that, depending on which state they're from, because certain states have rules against what they're allowed to advertise for or what the restrictions are on that. So it does depend on which state. And every athlete will have the right to sell their name, image, or likeness. And so the schools are not allowed to pay athletes money directly. So they're not being paid to play any of the sports like they're playing. Like they will not be able to be paid directly by the schools to participate in any of this. So it's not like they're being hired to be an athlete. It's just that they're allowed to make money from companies that want to use their name if they're like popular to like use them in like any sorts of products or business. So athletes are also able to hire their agents specifically for like the marketing part of their college life. So they will be able to have an agent specifically designated to helping them deal with their money negotiations. Before, athletes were only allowed to have an agent when they were starting to pursue stuff like going into the NFL or the NBA or something like that. So so now there will be agents specifically designated for that. And schools directly, it depends on which state, are allowed to specifically arrange deals for the athletes themselves. So it is, depending on which state you're in, it is how much the school can be influenced with the students making deals with the other companies. And there are restrictions on how much the athletes can be paid. They can't be paid a certain amount of money for something. And then it's always school over player, because it is the NCAA. If like a school is sponsored by Adidas and all the players have to wear Adidas shoes, just because the player is sponsored by Nike, that doesn't overrule that they still have to wear the Adidas shoes, so that wouldn't be able to fall through. Also, I do have some questions about this, how this is going to work. So now CBS always does March Madness every year. And so does March Madness, does CBS have to specifically pay each player to allow them to use their name, image, and likeness on the broadcast? Because they always have the player introductions. They've got their stats up there and stuff and their name. So will they have to pay those players individually to allow them to use them on the broadcast? So how far does this go? Also, it does depend on state again. If in advertisements and stuff, the school's logo will be able to be used. So I'm not sure if they have to pay the school too for that, if it's the player that they're paying. So it could potentially be taking money away from the NCAA and what they have to pay the NCAA for. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so that's just my quick overview of that topic and the questions I had on that. So we're going to be moving on to the College Playoff Committee in football, expanding the teams from 4 teams to now 12 teams. And so this will include 6 conference champions, the 6 highest ranked conference champions. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the Power 5, the Power 5 being, again, the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. It's just, because there's the lesser 5 conference too, like the Mountain West Conference and the American Athletic Conference. So yeah, it's just the 6 highest ranked of those 10 conference champions, and then there will be 6 more variables which the NCAA will select. They haven't really let us know if there's any more qualifying terms that they have to do to be selected for that. And so the top 4 seeds will have a bye. So for each of those top 4 teams to win a national championship, they'll have to win 3 games in a row. And if you don't have a first round bye, you'll have to win 4 games in a row. And so that's how it'll go. They're just trying to look, because every year there's a debate about who should make it. They were looking to make it more of outright. So it's always a debate about who should get in, about the power teams. But if you look at it, it's if you're a conference champion, then it's there's more solidarity in their picks. So it's not just random who the committee thinks is better. Half of them are set in stone, the highest ranked conference champions. And so there is a chance, even if you're super good, the SEC always has a bunch of good teams in, if you lost in the SEC championship game, but you were still probably a top 10 team in the nation, then you would probably get one of the 6 variable spots that the NCAA committee will select. And so the teams that would have gotten the first round bye last year would have been Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Oklahoma, because those 4 were all champions of their respective conferences. So that's how, because Notre Dame, since they're not in a conference, as they were the last of those 4 teams that were in it last year, they would be in fact one of the 6 teams that the committee would select. So that's about all. That's how it's looking, how the bracket will look and everything. And so that's just some of the biggest announcements from what's been going on in the NCAA and some changes that they're making. Again, thank you so much for watching. This has been Zeke from A to Zeke Sports. My analysis, what I think of this. I like this move by the NCAA to make the field bigger, just because we get, as a fan, a couple more weeks of playoff college football. And so even though it may make it tougher for a team that you root for, I'm an Ohio State fan, so it could make it tougher for them, but I'm looking to see them. Hopefully they can get a bye this upcoming year, But yeah, this should just be really fun. There'll be 6 of the major bowls that will be sort of games coming in towards the end. So thanks again so much for watching, and this has been all of my analysis from the recent events. And so like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.